Good evening and welcome to tonight's Monroe City Council meeting. This is the regular business meeting for Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. The time right now is 7 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and ask that our clerk Wyckoff please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members present and establishing a quorum are council members Fulcher, Beaumont, Hanford, Walker, Fisher, and Scarborough.
Thank you. And I heard from Councilmember Gamble. That's a hybrid. It's a hybrid. There you go. Gamford. I'm just going to let that sit there for a second. Just think about that. Okay. So Jason called me, contacted me earlier today. He's sick. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to attend this evening, even remotely. So, and I mean like actually remotely, not even remotely. If he does show up online, I'll go ahead and announce his presence for the record. But unless there's objection, we will consider his absence as excused this evening. Seeing no objection, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. That'll be the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Hanford, will you please lead us? No worries. It's a nice picture. I like the agenda that you put together, and that's a nice picture. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. That's public comments. Please note that we do have a public hearing this evening on automated traffic safety cameras. The public comment period is not intended to be for the public hearing for public comments. Let's say that another way. If you want to speak to the automated traffic safety cameras, this would not be that time. So if you'd like to speak on public comment this evening, please go ahead and raise your hand. All right. You'll need to come up to the podium and you'll need to wait so that we can set a timer for 3 minutes. Just a second. And because, oh, hey, the 3-minute timer does work.
Oh, there.
Good evening. Please go ahead and state your name and association with the city for the record, and then we'll start the 3-minute timer.
I'm Sherry Novak. I've lived in the city since the 80s, lived on South Blakely since 91, and I am really thankful you guys got those flashing crosswalk lights. Amen. We have needed them, and hopefully we have something downtown to get the people that are taking those right-hand turns and try to hit us when we're in the crosswalk. Blinking lights there, or your traffic, which I'm not saying that. Thank you. Just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, is there anybody else who would like to speak? All right. With that said, Zach, I appreciate the wonderful legal advice you gave for the things that I read online, and we'll just pretend that that just sort of got adopted here telepathically through the audience. So, okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda then, which is a public hearing. It's item 5.1, automated traffic safety cameras. And I don't have any notes for things that I need to read in this evening for the traffic cameras. Is there anything that I need to read in ahead of time? See, Zach, I am thinking of you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do believe that there's a script for the legislative public hearing process that would be appropriate for tonight.
We're getting it right now. Thank you. Thank you, Jody. All right. And then, of course, the mayor forgot his reading glasses too. So, all right. This is the next item on the agenda. It's a public hearing for item 5.1, automated traffic safety cameras. Before we proceed with the hearing, please note that the rules and procedures that apply to this hearing are available in the agenda packet and on the city's website. To summarize, after the hearing is open, city staff will present a staff report, and council members may ask questions for clarification of staff or wait until another time. The public hearing is now open. For the record, I'm informing all parties interested in these proceedings that the city clerk has forwarded to the city council all timely written or otherwise recordable comments that have been submitted regarding the subject matter of this public hearing. That's to say, if you already sent in comments and you sent them in on time, they got them. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and invite Liam McCorkle forward to give a staff report. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. I will keep my comments tonight brief, but tonight's public hearing is regarding Draft Ordinance 006, 2024, which, if adopted, would amend Ordinance Number 006, 2012, which would provide by providing the required advisory vote on any ordinance authorizing the use of automated ticketing cameras to be scheduled for either a general or special election. As it is currently written in Ordinance 006, 2012, that required advisory vote can only be during a general election. This was requested by council at the previous meeting where this topic was brought up to consider with a second reading of Draft Ordinance 006, 2024. To once again be clear and reiterate myself, passage of Draft Ordinance 006, 2024 does not evoke the right of the City Council to, at a later date, repeal Ordinance 006, 2012. And in a similar fashion, passage of this ordinance would not obligate the city in any way to proceed with implementing cameras if that is not the direction that council would like to go. In any case, if the city does wish to proceed in that direction, I included in your agenda packets a draft timeline based on estimated times when staff could get items complete, including the required locational analysis that would be required by state law, which would include an equity analysis and a safety analysis before locations could be determined or an advisory vote can be held based on the camera selection and ordinance that would need to be passed. So with that brief report, I will pass it back to the mayor.
Thank you. I'm not going to use the pretty words in here, but council members, do you have any clarifying questions of staff? All right, ends up that I did say the pretty words that are in here by accident. All right, at this time, I will ask if there are any members of the public who wish to speak to this matter. Unless the council wishes to impose a different limitation, there will be 3 minutes afforded to each speaker. Your time will begin after you introduce yourself and after you provide your area of residence or association with the City of Monroe. Please be respectful of all speakers and of the hearing procedure itself. Please also note that this is a hearing. It's an opportunity for you to address the City Council. It's not intended to be a question and answer session. So if you're interested in speaking to this public hearing this evening, please go ahead and raise your hand. Come on up. We'll make certain the microphone is on for you there. It's on. And again, if you would be so kind, please state your name and association with the city, and then we'll start the timer.
Okay, wait. Okay, you know, are you guys okay if I just put this back? It's,
You can put
it's
it
literally
back.
just blank.
Yeah, you can put it back. No worries. Yeah. And Jody, can we put the timer up too? Thank you. So you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello,
There you go.
my name is James Cummings. I'm a 6th grade student at Sky Valley Education Center. I live pretty much at the southwestern corner of the city limits. Anyway, I highly advocate for these cameras because there are so many speeders on this street that our backyard faces. It's enough to have anyone who's in charge of dealing with them a migraine. But luckily, auto ticketing cameras don't get migraines. If this is passed, it's going to it's going to lighten up a lot of people's headaches. And also, it doesn't just give the people who have to deal with it, the speeders, headaches. Okay, so actually, it does just give them, but the people who have to police the speeders aren't the only ones who get the headaches. It's also the people who live near the speeders, like me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who'd like to come forward to speak this evening? All right, and great job on your presenting. All right, there being no further comments, do any council members have any additional questions to ask of staff? All right, I'm now going to close the public hearing. This is the conclusion of the public hearing unless there are objections. Pause. Yes, it says pause. All right. The hearing is now closed. We now have for council's consideration a motion. You can go ahead and move to adopt it or give other direction. So I turn to the council. Councilmember Hanford, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the public comments this evening. I move to accept a second reading and adopt ordinance number 006-2024, amending ordinance number 006-2012, providing that the required advisory vote on any ordinance authorizing the use of automatic ticketing cameras may be scheduled for a general or special election, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilmember Hanford, a second from Councilmember Beaumont for the requested action that is shown on the screen for item 5.1. I turn to the council. Councilmember Walker.
I previously supported this motion, but I loved in the write-up the consideration given to the timeline, even if we were to repeal the ordinance from 2013 or 2014 and decide to move forward with a camera program today, it wouldn't go into effect until May 2026, roughly. With that being the case, the idea of repealing the original ordinance gives me a little bit more comfort if we were to say we can repeal it so that we can begin to study it, because these things we wouldn't break ground on the implementation of these cameras until the middle of 2026. All of the feedback that I've received from my neighbors, from law enforcement, everyone, myself included, people are speeding. I walk down to the elementary school in the mornings, and I've been told by crossing guards that there are close calls frequently. And I think the city has done an awesome job taking steps to address pedestrian safety in the city recently. I was for this one initially, or this ordinance right now, it's on the screen, because it respected the voters' wishes to have an advisory vote on the topic. I would like to propose that kind of hybrid where we can repeal it, begin to study it, and hold a general election advisory, non-binding advisory vote in the fall. Yeah, that's. I'd love to hear comments on it.
All right, thank you. Council members, there's a motion on the floor. Any further deliberation? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, so motion is tied, 3-3. Okay, I have the ability to break a tie. This is a matter that the council has spent some time talking about, and I'm going to insist that the council make a decision rather than me breaking a tie in this matter. So would the council like to make a motion to postpone this to another date? Otherwise, the motion fails. So it is up to the body in order to move to postpone to another date or to have this come back on another date. What's that? Oh, thank you. Zach, I didn't see you waving your hand.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I did not mean to interrupt, but did I understand your comments to mean that you could break a tie on an ordinance adoption? Because that state law provides that this is one of the areas in which, pardon me, quoting from the statute, that you will have the vote only in the case of a tie in votes of the council members with respect to matters other than the passage of any ordinance, grant, revocation, or franchise or license. And I just wanted to make sure that you and the council were aware of that. Your authority in the context of an ordinance is to exercise your veto power if you are so inclined. but not tie-breaking authority.
Zach, let's clarify that one more time, because my understanding was different, not that it matters for the outcome, but I do want to make certain that I understand it correctly. I have a 3-3 vote for the motion for this particular item that would change a law to, as you know, so that these elections, this matter could be brought to any general and also special election. So it's not a franchise, it's not a budget item. So just for clarity, this is not something that I can break a tie on. And again, I'm not advocating for that by any stretch. I just want to make certain I have the right understanding.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. You have a vote in the case of a tie in the votes of the council members with respect to matters other than the passage of any ordinance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In the context of an ordinance, your authority as the mayor extends to your veto power, not to the tie-breaking authority.
Okay, no worries. I am good. Okay, so we have a tie here before us, and I'm going to turn to Jody. Since we have a tie, the motion fails. Can the council move to bring this back, or would that require re-voting? Is this done, or can they bring it back? Okay. Okay, so the matter is done. Make sense? I've got flags. Just a second, I want to make certain that we're getting advice. So Zach and Jody, if the council wanted to bring this back, because we're missing one council member this evening, and I suspect that there will be questions along those lines, is the council, this having failed, does it require a majority vote, which could occur at a later meeting if they couldn't get a majority vote this evening to bring this back to a future council meeting?
My understanding is that this could be approved at a subsequent council meeting with a simple majority vote, or the vote required for passage of an ordinance, which is essentially 4 votes of the council. A passage of an ordinance requires 4 affirmative votes of the city council.
Perfect. And we would have to have a majority vote this evening in order to put it on an upcoming agenda, correct?
And I would need to discuss that with your city clerk, but that is my understanding as well.
Okay, so to the council then, if anybody makes a motion to bring this back at a future meeting, it needs to pass 4-2 at least. So if everybody's going to vote the same way and you get a tie vote, then you're just going to want to make a motion at a future meeting when you have 7 of you here to bring it back at a future meeting for a decision, preferably one where 7 council members are present. Okay, so I think that's going to answer some of the questions for some of the flags that might have gone up. Now I turn to the council. I think Councilmember Scarborough had his flag up first, and then I saw Walker and then Fisher. So Councilmember Walker. I'm going to go with Councilmember Scarborough. We're just inventing names this evening.
Okay, thank you. I guess my understanding now is that my point would be to bring it back when all 7 members are here for a vote. However you get to that point, that's where my head goes.
Right, okay. Sounds good. Councilmember Walker and then Councilmember Fisher. Okay, Councilmember Fisher.
Oh, here we go. So with that being said, can I make a motion for staff to repeal the ordinance of 062012? It's at the bottom of our.
Yeah, I think you can. So I'm going to turn to Zach and Jody. I mean, that's part of the scope of what's before us, correct, Zach?
It is, Mr. Mayor. That was one of the, I think, implicit options in the agenda bill. The question is whether or not that should be added to the agenda as its own specific agenda item, but keeping in mind that the council can always implicitly waive its own rules of procedure by simply voting on something. I'm not concerned about the process for this. If the council wants to take a vote to that effect, that's their prerogative.
Okay, to me, it's within the scope of what's been brought forward, and an alternative was provided where they could move to repeal the existing code. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to turn to the council. Up to you if you want to add it to the agenda and then move to repeal it. You can do that, or if you just want to move to repeal it, you can do that.
Okay. I move for staff to bring back an ordinance that would repeal ordinance number 006-2012, removing the requirement to issue an advisory vote on the next general election ballot for an ordinance authorizing the use of automated traffic safety cameras.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Fisher, a second from Councilmember Fulcher, as Councilmember Fisher just read into the record. Does anybody have any questions about the motion? I just want to make certain, since it was just a stated motion, that everybody understands it. Councilmember Scarborough, go ahead.
I'm not sure I understand what this
The motion was to bring forward an ordinance to the council that would repeal the requirement for a vote at all. No. No, this would bring back a whole new ordinance that would repeal that section of code. Okay, anybody else have any questions? So if you vote in favor of this, the staff will put together an ordinance that will repeal the section of code that requires this come back to a vote of the people for traffic enforcement cameras. Looking at all the heads. Okay. And that was the intent of, so an ordinance will come back for council's consideration. Yes. Okay. Okay, all right, go ahead. Councilmember Hanford.
Question for clarification, do we know when that will take place?
Probably in the next 3-ish council meetings. So I'm just trying to provide adequate time for
Yeah, totally.
people to review.
Yeah.
So approximately 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. You still have the floor, Councilmember Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. So yeah, I'd love to hear from the council members. Councilmember Walker had said the same thing when he finished his comments earlier. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this motion and why you made it. And
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So I turn to the council if you'd like to speak, including Councilmember Fisher. If you wanted to respond, go ahead, Councilmember Fisher.
So yeah, there's been an overwhelming support for having traffic cameras. I don't feel that it's worth the cost or staff's time to put this on the ballot. I think we can make a decision on this with all of the input we've had from the community. And I just don't think that we need to put this on a ballot or invest that money or staff's time with it.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Fisher. Go ahead, Councilmember Fulcher.
I think that we have talked about this with the people of the city enough. Everyone that I have talked to is in support of traffic cameras, as I am. I do not need to put something on the ballot in order to hear from the people about that. I've already heard from the people. And as Kyle said, it's a timing thing. It's another expense. We had a perfect opportunity tonight for people to come and give us their input about traffic cameras. And thank you, James. That was our one input. And it was in support of. I get it. I live down where we would need traffic cameras too. So what we are saying by this is we are in support of traffic cameras. And we do not need to put this up for a vote of the people again. We just want to go ahead and get the work done, the work we were elected to do.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Councilmember Beaumont.
Very persuasive, I agree.
All right. Councilmember Walker, go ahead.
I remember, even though I was very young at the time, when the conversation was happening around the traffic light cameras. If I recall correctly, most of the energy was about frustration with red light cameras. My intent or my understanding of kind of the initiative that we're currently discussing, initiative meaning the prerogative or the idea, is a focus on speed zone cameras in school zones right now. In my opinion, I feel like people could separate the two logically. And I think they're two different issues, or not two different issues, but I think that there is public support, unanimous public support for school zone speed cameras. And so I see a problem. It seems like there is more speeding. We've heard that feedback from the public time and time again. We have a solution in front of us potentially. I mean, every stat that you look up on speed zone cameras supports them. The Federal Highway Administration and the Washington DOT did a study, reported that fixed units, speed zone cameras reduce crashes on urban arterials up to 54%. I've said this one a few times, but a pedestrian struck by a vehicle going 20 miles an hour is nearly 2/3 less likely to be killed than if they were struck by a vehicle going 30 miles an hour. There are parents that have came to me and said, I've got a second grader I'm worried about. A big thing for me is timeline, because if we are to wait till next fall to hold a advisory vote for this, we wouldn't be breaking ground on cameras till 2027. There's people with second graders or third graders in school right now who wouldn't even get to see a answer or any kind of action from the city to address that problem until 2027, when their kid is in middle school now. So for me, I think that it's a different issue than the red light cameras. It makes sense to me. I support repealing it. I'm sorry that this topic has came up so many times, but I think it's one that's worth the discourse, so.
Thank you. Councilmember Scarborough, go ahead.
So do I understand, based on what Councilman Walker said, we're voting on red light cameras, I'm sorry, we're voting on speed cameras and not red light cameras?
No, to clarify, this is for traffic enforcement cameras, which includes everything that Mr. McCorkle has already shared with you. So the subset includes red light, but also school zone. I think they added like hospital zone and a couple other things that are different than existed previously.
And as we discussed earlier, do we have in our ability the privy to where we put those?
Yes. Yes, and you'll also have the ability to decide what categories of cameras that you'd like to install. So all those things would be decisions that the council would make at a future date.
May I ask what you mean by the categories?
Oh, like red light cameras, speed zone cameras, hospital
So
zone.
when we pass this, we all get together and say, we want speed zone cameras here and here and here, and maybe we can use a red light there or there.
We'll do a study.
Yeah, so based on the timeline, how this would work moving forward, if council directed it, is staff would go out and conduct a locational analysis, which would include a safety analysis of proposed locations where safety would be most benefited by cameras, and then accompanying that would also be an equity analysis to make sure it doesn't have a disproportionate effect on anyone of lower socioeconomic or otherwise marginalized status. And then from that analysis, council could then take that and decide what locations or categories of cameras they could.
And so if I could just clarify, Councilmember, your vote tonight would be only to remove the requirement for a general election for this going to a vote of the people. Unless I missed something because I don't have it written in front of me, it would not result in, in traffic enforcement cameras going up immediately. Yeah. So there would still be additional work to occur.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Hanford, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for point of clarification, I think what you meant to say was that your vote tonight would be for it to be put on the agenda
Thank you.
to vote on in a future date.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Yes.
We're just talking about having it put on an agenda so we can discuss it further and possibly pass it, but not tonight. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification, Councilmember
Yeah.
Hanford. Yeah, you're not voting this evening. This is not a final decision. It's a direction for staff. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any other deliberation on the motion that's before you? All right. I'm going to look at Zach. Zach, do you have any concerns or anything that I need to clarify before we move forward to the vote?
No, I don't, Mr. Mayor. This is simply providing direction, as I understand it, to bring back an ordinance for future consideration and potential vote. That's entirely within the council prerogative, and you have tie-breaking authority on that if necessary.
Okay. Tie-breaking authority to bring something from staff forward.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
if a vote is taken.
Yeah, if a vote will be taken, because I'm going to call for the vote next. All right, seeing no further deliberation, we're going to do a roll call vote on this one. Okay, I just want to make certain that I hear everybody. So Councilmember Fisher. Aye. Councilmember Fulcher. Aye. Councilmember Scarborough. Aye. Councilmember Walker. Aye. Councilmember Hanford.
Aye.
Councilmember Beaumont. Okay, motion passes 6-0. All right, thank you very much, everybody. All right, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, and that item would be the consent agenda. So I turn to the council. Councilmember Hanford, I see your light went on. Your light went on, so I'm calling on you. Okay, go ahead.
I move to approve the consent agenda as listed.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda
light
from
is off.
Councilmember Hanford, second from Councilmember Beaumont. Before I say deliberation on the motion, Kevin, if you were just slow on turning off your microphone before, I'm sorry, but I thought you leaned forward to turn it on. Okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any deliberation? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, everybody. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. That would be new business item number 7.1, confirm appointment, Community Human Services Advisory Board, position number 2. And Ms. Adams is going to come forward and give a presentation on this appointee.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Monroe City Council members. Mayor Thomas and I conducted an interview on September 18th and are now requesting a confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Lucia Zamron to the Community Human Services Advisory Board, position 2, with a term ending December 31st, 2025.
Thank you. And Lucia is available on the attendees list, and unless there's objection from the council, I'd like to bring her forward. She wasn't able to be here this evening for this appointment confirmation consideration. Seeing no objection, we're going to bring Lucia forward. Lucia, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi. We're going to adjust the volume in here. I think they heard you say hi in Sultan. Just a second.
All righty.
There you go. All right, so Lucia, if you'd be so kind, please go ahead and introduce yourself briefly and tell us briefly about why you're interested in serving on the Community Human Services Advisory Board.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm genuinely grateful for the opportunity to be here. Like I said, my name is Lucia Zamron. I've devoted the past 8 years to serving our community, during which I've cultivated connections and deepened my passion for helping others. I applied for the position to actively contribute to ongoing and future developments within our community. I'm truly excited to join and support initiatives designed to enhance our community. I'm a fluent Spanish speaker myself. So I've worked alongside with a lot of our Hispanic community here in Monroe. My husband and I have both been lifelong residents of Monroe, which we cherish our community deeply, and we want to be as involved as we can. Like I said, we've been lifelong residents, and we have our wonderful daughter and recently welcomed our son this past Friday. So we're very excited to just be able to work within our community to be able to better the future for our children as well.
Thank you very much, Lucia. So I'm going to go ahead and turn to the council. Do I have a motion? Go ahead, Councilmember Fulcher.
First, congratulations, Lucia and your husband. And I move to confirm the mayor's appointment of Lucia Zamron to the Community Human Services Advisory Board, position 2, a term ending 12/31/25.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Fulcher, a second from Councilmember Hanford. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, before we move forward, Lucia, thank you very much for your application. I really enjoyed getting to meet you and interview you last week. So thank you very much for your application. And going to turn to the council for a vote at this time. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Congratulations, Board Member Zamaron. Have a great evening. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. That's item 7.2, the 2025-2026 revenue assumptions and discussion. And we have Mr. Thremer here.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. So tonight we'll go through some very high-level preliminary revenue forecast assumptions, which will be discussed, and there'll be time for questions and review. And then these assumptions will be brought back at a later time with the mayor's proposed budget. So please turn the page. Again, there'll be time for questions and clarification at the end. So some of the policy considerations, it's all spelled out in the RCW. The revenue assumptions are still being refined, but they're mostly, they've been brewing and they're pretty well refined. The Finance Committee and the HR Committee has reviewed the draft assumptions on August 27th at their meeting. Preliminary review of the assumptions tonight, and then we'll move through the process. And so that's where we are. So some general assumptions. One of the key things in a budget is the consumer price index, and that's largely for the staff wage and salary budgets. And here at the City of Monroe, as you know, we base almost everything on the CPIU, Seattle, Tacoma, Bellevue, June to June, and you can see the numbers in front of you. The inflation numbers have started at 5.5% a couple years ago, spiked up to 10.1, down to 4.6, and the most recent number that will be incorporated into the 2025 numbers is 3.8%. So again, that's the actual CPI from June of 2023 to June of 2024, which will be calculated and implemented in the 2025 budget. And then again in 2026, we'll use that, we'll fast forward 12 months and use that again according to the contracts, the bargaining contracts. More general assumptions, housing starts. So the city projects that we will have about 180 new housing starts for 2023, the current biennium that we're in. And the assumption is that the city will continue to project a flat amount or about the same 180 housing starts into the next biennium. These are important in that the level of housing starts and housing activity affects things such as real estate excise taxes, park impact fees, and traffic impact fees. Another one is utility rates. So utility rates are important in that they impact not only the enterprise funds such as sewer, water, and stormwater, but they also affect the utility taxes that are associated with that. So we've used the assumptions that in 2025, no sewer rate increases, water rates increase 3%, and stormwater rates increase 10%. And that's in accordance with the resolution that's already been passed back in 2019. Let's see, in 2026, there will be a 3.8% increase in all utilities, water, sewer, and stormwater, to cover the effects of inflation. And then again, there will be a future utility rates plan in 2026 for the next 6 years. And you can see the chart shows the current effective rates for utilities. So you can turn the page. Other assumptions, population. So you can see the population growth I believe the initial 2022, that was associated with a reduction in the prison population. But other than that, there's been a slow and steady growth in the population. And we expect, we're assuming for 2025, a 1.2% increase. And then again for 2026, another 1.2% increase. And here's your large picture view of all of the revenues. This is a biennium view. So for the next 2 years, for 2025 and 2026 together, in a highly summarized look, you can see that we're projecting 41,758,575, and there's the breakdown. The largest percentage, which you'd expect, would be the taxes, then licenses and permits, and all the way down. So this one, this slide shows the revenue trends. And so you can see that the revenues that are projected for the current biennium are just under 40 million, or 39.266 million. And in the next biennium, again, that will increase by a couple million, maybe 2.5 million. And you can see that the 2025 revenue projection is slightly above the 2026 revenue projection, and that's due to more grant revenues in the first year as opposed to the next year. One of the big things is no more ARP or CARES money, so that that funding source all ends this year in October of 2024. And again, there's some of the factors that go into that. So we have a projection for property tax revenues. Property taxes account for 21% of the general fund revenues. The assessed value will increase by about 4%. The new construction was fairly large in this last go around. New construction added $69 million to the assessed value, or approximately an additional $60,000 in property taxes. The assumption for next year is for $4,275,000, which would assume the 1% increase, the use of the bank capacity, which is about $153,000, and then in the next year again, assuming the 1% increase in property taxes. Sales tax revenues represent about 31.1% of the general fund revenues. Year-to-date sales taxes are down. They're down about $200,000 year-to-date. Based on this, we have projected fairly flat sales tax revenues for the next 2 years. Of that $6.5 million in 2025, about $6 million of that would be regular sales tax, and $500,000 would be assumed to be from the construction sales tax. And then again, another flat projection. These are very conservative estimates. So $6.5 million per year, 6 million from regular and 500,000 from construction. I believe in the current year, or the last year we had, it was about 823,000 in construction, so that's down a bit. Utility taxes, of course, when utilities are charged, there's a utility tax that's charged on those utility fees, and that goes into the general fund. And you can see the revenues that are projected from all the various utilities. And that adds up to about, we're projecting just over $7 million in the next biennium, which is about a 4.2% increase. And there again, there's the Lance chart, and that shows the permit fees. And we're projecting is there a question? Oh.
You can go ahead and finish this slide.
Oh,
Call
okay.
Councilmember Walker. Thank you.
So the projections are conservative in that the licensing and permit fees are projected to be about $425,000 in each year in the next, in 2025 and 2026.
Thank you. Councilmember Walker?
Right, utility tax revenues. Yes.
Before we continue, any other questions so far? All right, please go ahead.
Okay, so thank you, Mayor. So this slide shows the grant revenues, and you can see the ARPA money, or the federal ARPA money predominantly came in 2021 and 2022, and that's again going down, and again that ARPA money ends this year. But some of the things that do show up, we have the opioid settlement monies, $250,000 in 2025 and $300,000 in 2026, and also $592,000 in EHF funds from the Department of Commerce in 2025.
And can you define what EHF is for everybody else?
Let's see. Emergency Housing Fund. Thank you. I had to phone a friend. And so, yeah, we're getting close to the end. General fund interest revenues, again, so you're all aware of the federal fund policy, and interest rates have gone up quite a bit over the last couple of years. They've ratcheted up. And so you can see in 2023 and 2024, with the high interest rates, the city has taken in $291,000 in 2023. We're projected for $215,000 in 2024. And with the most recent Fed activity, the Fed has just cut the rates by 50 basis points, and then there's expected to be another, maybe a couple 25 basis point reductions through the end of the year. So we're trying to be conservative in projecting that the city will receive less in interest over the next 2 years, and you can see that reflected in the projections. And questions?
Councilmembers, are there any questions? Councilmember Hanford.
Thank you, Mayor. Not a question, just a comment. I love that we continue to carry the tradition of budgeting conservatively. And I'm just reminding us all that it was because of that when COVID and all that mess hit, we as a city were strong and healthy and were able to maintain throughout that rough time. So thank you for continuing the tradition, carrying on.
Thank you. Thank you, Council Member.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments, or good jokes? All right, I appreciate all the work on this. So to the council, these revenues then inform, these revenue assumptions then inform the work that we're doing around the expenditure side of the budget. And so you'll be seeing the budget in the next week or two. October 8th. There you go. So we continue discussing that with staff, and there you go. All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
All right, next item on the agenda is item number 8, council member reports. I'm going to start with Councilmember Fulcher.
Yeah, surprise. Okay, let's see, what did
This is more fun than just going down the line the
today?
same way every day,
Yeah.
right?
It is. I just have to say that I've had the opportunity to meet with some private citizens just in the last week that have been just such a nice thing, and just a reminder that we are still a small town. And so it has been just many opportunities to not only get kudos, but to have people just come and say, hey, I need help in this direction or something like that. I'm thankful for the opportunity and thankful for the idea that I'm able to guide them to staff who are always helpful. So thank you guys, you do a great job. And we did get a chance to look at the mural today for the city hall, and yay, that was very exciting. Bye.
Thank you. Councilmember Walker.
Mural was amazing. I just had something that I wanted to ask if I could add it to the next P3 meeting. I learned about COBORs, which are Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights, which is a cool program that it seems like a few cities around the country have done, where you give a Bill of Rights, obviously for children to be able to do things like the right to climb a tree or plant a seed or something. And these kids in these cities do it, and they can come into the city hall and get a sticker for their book. I just thought it was a really cool thing. We could collaborate with the school district or other clubs or groups in Monroe. So I'd love to talk about it in P3.
Any other P3 members present tonight? Okay. You're good with adding that to an upcoming agenda? All you need to do is just go that way. Up and down. Okay. All right. Not seeing an objection.
Unanimous.
We'll have that at a P3 meeting. Thank you. All right. Councilmember Hanford.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the mural looked amazing. And I was approached over the weekend by citizens just confirming their desire that we not do anything with fireworks, changing that. And then there's one more thing. Oh, yes. Just thankful for our PD and our officer and the relationship that we have with the school district and with the keeping the kids safe. And today was just a good reminder of that. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Scarborough.
Again, I'm looking forward to seeing the mural in the new city hall.
Yeah.
You talked about fireworks. Are we still to bring that forward?
That'll be something that the council can consider next year as to whether or not you want to put it onto a special or general election. And so we've already received direction from council that you'd like to put on the general election next year, that we'll need to finalize some things next year. So you'll have another opportunity to vote in that matter.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Councilmember Fisher.
I don't have anything to report tonight, so I figure it's probably a good time to thank staff for all the work that you do for us. We sit up here and we assign so much work, and I just always appreciate your guys' attitudes, your professionalism, and I want a sticker for climbing a tree. So I think that program sounds great.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn to staff. We'll start off with Public Works Department, September 2024 report with Director Roberts. Did I really? Councilmember Beaumont. See, this is what happens when you bounce around. Councilmember Beaumont, go ahead.
I tried to go see the mural.
Okay.
And was RSVP'd, yes, to be there and rushed there after cross-country practice, and the doors were locked. I will be on the island of misfit toys because I guess I don't matter. But no, I got to look at it through the window and it looked really cool. So I did want to thank Director Roberts. I have had an ongoing relationship because I sometimes sub at Frank Wagner Elementary and have some good relationships with some staff there. And they reached out about a problem spot, pedestrian crossing for students. And it's so wonderful, as Councilmember Fulcher was saying, to know that when a citizen comes to you and says, hey, you know, I need a question answered or I need some help, to know that staff has your back and staff will respond in a wonderful way, quickly and professionally. And I just want to thank you very much, Director Roberts, for reaching out immediately and handling that. And it wasn't a problem. It was a query about what more can we do? And I really appreciate that. And, I know I speak for all of us when people come to us and ask us questions. And it's just fantastic to have this wonderful staff, incredibly professional and knowledgeable, and just very much appreciated. And also wanted to give a shout out to the farmers market and some of our local businesses like Tie on Main. I just was flipping through the best of the Pacific Northwest that came out in the Seattle Times, and tons of Monroe businesses are in there. It's really made me proud, and it was really fantastic to see that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Beaumont. Director Roberts.
Thank you. I'm humbled. That was mildly embarrassing. All right, moving on. It takes a team. I'm just one of many in the Public Works Department, and the folks that are responsive to the requests of the community, no matter who they come from, are the ones who deserve all the credit. So I just get to sit up here and talk to you guys, which is honestly the easy part. In any case, moving on to the Public Works report, there's all kinds of great stuff in there. We're putting down new asphalt in town with TBD money. Hopefully you've seen the signs out on Frylands and on, I think 154th is where the other one is. We're also finishing up the Dickinson utility replacement project, getting rid of some ponding there. It's very nice to see that area draining properly now, and it's rained once or twice since that happened. Other thing in the report is the RRFBs that we've got this year. City Engineer Peterson has put in a grant application, or will be somewhere in the process of requesting 4 other locations which have blue dots on them there. Those are other places in the community where it's deemed engineering appropriate to use one of those devices. And also there have been requests from the community, typically more than one for each one of those spots. So that concludes my report. Mayor, turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Director Roberts? All right, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is Police Department August 2024 report with Chief Jolly.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The report that has been prepared is in your packet. I would just point out there is one item on the last page that is of interest, is we do have 2 new canine dogs on hand, and they are currently in training, which will be approximately 10 to 12 weeks. After that period of time, we'll be happy to bring them to council and introduce them to you. Yes, sir, 2. Yes, sir.
So you've got K8s right now, and they're going to be promoted to K9s when you're done?
Correct.
Nice, okay.
Well done.
Thank you. I'm
Mayor,
trying,
well
I'm trying.
done.
Any questions? Go ahead, Councilmember Scarborough.
I appreciate the report, Chief. I was looking at the significant cases and things that you were involved in, and I'm impressed with the stuff you guys are doing. I do have a question. Are we one of the only ones that have a drone that we have to go lend it to other departments, or are they augmenting by going over there to that?
Generally augmenting, to
Yeah.
answer your question, and it's always advisable or good practice to have 2 or 3 on a scene that might extend for some time. Of note, we have had Getchell Fire Department and their drone in our city probably 10 times to help us with various things, to give you an example of the cooperation that goes on in that realm.
In the news last week, there was a young lady of 10 years old that was found in the woods by a thermal projection drone. Do we have thermal capability?
Yes, sir, we do.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
Councilmember Walker.
Chief, could we meet the canines before the 400-hour training as well, before and after? Or do we have to wait 400 hours?
For an extra box of donuts, we can certainly arrange something.
Dealio. And some treats.
Okay, any other questions from the council? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda then is the Finance Department report, August 2024 report with Mr. Thamer. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. I can be brief on this one, I think. So in your packet, you have the finance report in much the same format that you've been used to in the past, and it's for your review. Is there any questions about finance report is presented in your packet.
Council members, any questions? It was a very thorough report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, next up is we have the HRIT Department September 2024 report with Director Worthen.
Back there every week. I'm just not very tall, just not very tall.
All right.
I don't have drones or a dog, but I do have Jason, and so I'll give Jason a talk. He'll be able to talk in a little bit.
So, go ahead.
So for my part, the report's in your packet, but I just wanted to update the group on finance. I know we've had some vacancies. We did get our utility billing clerk to start on the 16th. Her name's Billy. Today, I know, Billy and billing, exactly. Sometimes they just fall in place, right? Deborah did meet with a candidate for the finance manager today. We're hopeful she put that individual back in my capable hands to make an offer. And then we do have interviews, first round interviews set up for finance director for 10-4. So the first round interview is just that. We'll be talking to them a few more times, but that's the HR side. Questions?
Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you very much. IT side.
Hello.
You're putting Space Invaders on our machines,
That
right?
is correct.
Okay,
It is rolling out as we speak.
With thermal.
With the thermal imaging.
And K8s, because we want to see the
Well,
K8s before the K9s.
We already patched it. It's already at 8.2.
Nice.
So quick update. It's the first time I've done this, so here we are. I've been told that I talk a lot, so I will try to make this short. I only have 10 pages to go over. So here we go. Actually, we got for the rest of the year, IT is working on basically 4 big projects. One is we're upgrading our internet access, network connection to the Snohomish County. They're our partner in giving us our internet connection along with other services. We are also doing a server upgrade. We're getting that finalized in the purchasing department. And then we got 2 big security efforts here. We got, for those of you who are aware, we have a partnership with Critical Insights, who does monitoring of our security, everything. They have increased their platform to give us some more features. We're working through the agreement changes. There will be no cost change, so we're doing that. And then we're also working with the police station to do a review of the CGIS, which is the FBI policy around what they need to follow, as well as the court. And we're trying to figure out what all the different changes are. We're at 5.9 now, so we got a lot of things we got to change. So we're getting those all lined up and done. All right.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tickets are still up 50% over last year.
Thank you. Any questions for IT? All right, thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is item number 10. This is Mayor Administrator Report. It's item 10.1, City Administrator Report for the extended agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Looking forward to the next meeting on October 1st. We will have a Public Safety Committee meeting, and there are a couple of items identified. The Municipal Court quarterly update, the request for qualifications for community needs assessment, and the municipal campus study updates. For the regular study session, we do have the discussion item, the Monroe 2044 draft document for the comprehensive plan, and then the ordinance for downtown commercial code amendments with Amy Wright. For the next meeting, regular business meeting on the 8th, we will have a Legislative Affairs Committee meeting to go over the legislative priorities draft for 2025 and a federal legislative update, and then rules of procedure for boards and commissions and committees. For the regular business meeting, we will have a public hearing on the ordinance for downtown commercial amendments, and that's a public hearing and first reading with Amy Bright. The consent agenda includes our accounts payable, meeting minutes, payroll, and then a remote mower purchase grant with Megan Darrow. And then under department reports, we have Parks and Human Services, and that's all that we've got scheduled so far for the meeting on October 8th.
All right, Councilmember Hanford, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Unless something changes, it looks like I'll be busy that evening with work, so I won't be able to attend either the Legislative Affairs Committee or the council meeting.
All right,
but if that changes, I'll let you know.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else from any other council members? All right. And the extended agenda will also be modified to reflect the other item that was discussed earlier today on traffic enforcement cameras. So if that is going to be the 8th, that'll be on the 8th. Okay. There'll be no further questions on the extended agenda. We will go to the city administrator report.
Just a reminder that Representatives Steele and Gaynor will be the featured speakers at the chamber meeting on October 8th. And so if you'd like to attend that, please let Liam McCorkle know so he can get you registered. And if there's a quorum, then we'll have our clerk, Jody Wyckoff, notice that. Lodging tax grants, if you were looking at the scroll for the PowerPoint before the meeting started, please let anyone in your network know that the applications close Wednesday, October 9th at 4:30 p.m. So this is for tourism marketing and then marketing and operations of special events and festivals. So appreciate council spreading the word. And then finally, we will be hosting the Orca Recovery Day on Saturday, October 19th from 10 to 1, and that's at Sky River Park. It looks like a great family community-friendly event. So looking forward to being the host for that kind of more regional opportunity.
Okay, so we're looking forward to orcas being in the Sky Valley again. I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
I thought there was a time when one actually swum up channel a little way. So,
oh, okay, yeah. Nice. All right, questions? Go ahead, Councilmember Beaumont.
I think it's the first time that it has been hosted in the Sky Valley, and it's actually a partnership, it's my understanding, between the city of Monroe and the
Conservation District?
Thank you, Conservation District. Thank you so much. And the it does say that on the slide there, right?
Don't give away my secret.
If only I would have read my own slide. And the Conservation District. So I think it's supposed to be a number of activities and events that'll be taking place related to that. There was information in the last issue of Monroe this week, and then I think it's also been posted on the city's Facebook page. Yeah, you're welcome.
Cool, thank you. All right, any other questions on the administrator report? All right. Also, Administrator Night will be out for about a week and a half, so beginning Thursday.
Beginning Thursday.
Yeah, so from Thursday until probably October 6th. If you have any questions about anything, please email me, as you should always, and also Administrator Night, but also loop in Director Worthen. So like that, somebody will get back to you if you've got a question. And Administrator Night can keep tabs of what's going on, and so that there's stuff she can read when she comes back. All right.
I promise not to read it while I'm on vacation.
No, please don't read it while you're on vacation.
The staff, I know, is looking in the bathroom like,
I did that when I was on vacation before. Yeah. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to the mayor's report. As I stated earlier, we are continuing to work on the budget. I also have 2 meetings this week with a couple of business owners in the downtown around code enforcement. So just sharing that for your information. One of the things also that we were talking about doing is putting together a letter to share with our downtown business owners, just talking a little bit briefly about how the regulations that we have in the downtown exist today. The short end of it being that we went through a community visioning process. People wanted to see a walkable downtown. I've heard from people time and time again wanting to have something not identical to, but kind of like Snohomish. And what they're talking about there is people being able to walk around and feel at home and have places to eat on the sidewalks in downtown and things like that. But essentially just sharing with the business owners and with the building owners in the downtown just what the regulations are intended to achieve, and reminding folks that this came from a community process. We did a lot of surveys and had a lot of public comment. And at the time, I remember the chamber and others coming in and saying they wanted a walkable downtown. They wanted to be more like Snohomish. They wanted more business. They wanted more walking traffic so that, people would come to the downtown to go to business A, and walking by and looking in a window would see business number B and decide to walk in and buy something or, that kind of stuff. So in wanting to send this letter out and just letting folks know that if they're interested in revisiting that vision, the process would be to contact me and the council. And so as I was thinking about this, I was thinking that while this letter could come out just from me, to give the council the option to also either sign on to the letter as Jeffrey Thomas, Mayor, and the Monroe City Council, so that it's coming from both the executive branch and the policymaking branch. Or if you all wanted to, you could just have individual signatures on it. We would like to try to get this out by early next week. I don't know if what I've described to you sounds like something that you'd want to have either your names on or bring before the council on Tuesday next week for your consideration to say, yes, it's okay to put Monroe City Council on there. What would your preference be? What's that? Names? Okay. So if we're going to do names, what I can do is if we're able to finish it up this week, circulate it Thursday tomorrow. I forget what day of the week it is. Circulate it between Thursday and Friday, maybe for your consideration. And if you give a thumbs up, we'll put your names on there. So I appreciate that. Thank you. The thing that's important here is that there are a lot of places where a mayor will just kind of take it on their own that, yeah, this is them and everything, and we lose sight of the fact that there's a continuum of things that came before me, and things are going to continue after me, and that the council is part of that equation. We just want to make certain that people understand that. So, all right, thank you. I think that's all that I had to report for this evening. Any questions for me? Councilmember Fisher.
Just thank you, and I appreciate you and staff putting together that letter. We definitely took some heat from the downtown in the last couple of months, and I like this reaction to it. There was not a reaction from the city or staff or even council members on social media and engaging in some ridiculous things that were said about us and staff. So I really appreciate this letter and almost a re-education, and also to show that this is actually to support your businesses. Yeah. And that the important part is this was vetted through the community before we came up with those policies. So I really appreciate you doing that. Okay. And staff, thank you.
Thank you. And I do want to just reiterate there too, that part of the closing on the letter will be that maybe this is a time, or over the next couple of years as we're finishing up the comprehensive plan update, that there will be a time to revisit what it is this community's vision is for the downtown, because today there may be a different vision than there was 5 to 10 years ago when the comp plan was adopted. So yeah, if that again works for everybody, I appreciate the comments, Councilmember Fisher, and thank you, everybody. All right, if there are no further questions for me, I do have a need for an executive session this evening. We're looking at a total of starting off with 15 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and say that we're going to be going into executive session under potential litigation pursuant to RCW 42.30.110, subsection 1, subsection I, for an initial 15 minutes, beginning at 8:13 p.m. And if we do need to extend, I will announce extensions to our clerk, who will announce them both online and in this room. When we're done, we will reconvene with potential action to follow. Again, we are now in executive session at 8:14 for an initial 15 minutes. Thank you.
The executive session has been extended 5 minutes. The executive session has been extended 5 minutes. The executive session has been extended an additional 5 minutes. The executive session has been extended 5 minutes. The executive session has been extended 5 minutes. The executive session has been extended 5 minutes.
Are we good? All right, we are back out of executive session. There's no further business this evening. Unless there's objection, we will be adjourned. There being no objection, we are adjourned. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you for your service.